Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has said that Moscow is ready to break up with the EU if it imposes new sanctions that harm key sectors of the country's economy.
Are we heading for severed ties? With the EU, we're just saying that we're ready to do this if we see once again, like we've seen numerous times before, that Brussels imposes sanctions that pose risks to our economy, specifically to the most sensitive sectors. Once again, we don't want to distance ourselves from the international community, but we need to be ready for this. If you want peace, prepare to war.
Yeah, strong words there. Igor Zhdanov, our correspondent across this from this morning. Strong words from Sergei Lavrov. Of course, the last thing Russia wants to do is split up with anyone in the world. It wants relations to be good with everybody. But there's a real sense of frustration here that it's really come to a head of late between Russia and its neighbour. What's been going on then?
Well, absolutely, Kevin. And keep in mind that Sergei Lavrov, he is a veteran of diplomacy. But here he puts it in the simplest possible terms. And basically the message here is that Russia, while it is, as you say, Russia wants to keep great relations with everybody, but it won't be bullied into, well, anything, into making any decisions and that it feels uncomfortable with. So it comes just after a week after the EU's foreign policy chief, Joseph Borrell. He came to Moscow, and the visit was rather unremarkable at that point, and it was just business as usual. It came by just as expected. Some closing statements from both Sergei Lavrov and Joseph Borrell. But when he came back to the EU, when he returned, his visit to Moscow, well, it didn't sit well with other European diplomats, and he was absolutely torn apart for not being as aggressive as they wanted him to be with Sergei Lavrov. Just have a listen to this.
There is a deep disappointment and growing mistrust between the European Union and Russia. I also wanted to test if the Russian authorities are interested in a serious attempt to reverse the deterioration of our relations and seize the opportunity to have a more constructive dialogue. The answer has been clear: no.
The visit of High Representative Borrell to humiliate and offend the European Union.
Mr. Borrell, on the other hand, made a fool of himself last week in Moscow.
So they minced no words, and neither did journalists. You can find headlines saying that Lavrov bested Borrell, that Lavrov humiliated Borrell, and so on, and so on and so forth. So essentially, again, he was battered for not being as aggressive, for not being overly aggressive, for just, well, being a diplomat, really. And basically, it all goes back to the situation with the Russian opposition figure, Alexei Navalny, who basically the court swapped a suspended sentence for a real one for him, and the EU, putting it simply, Russia sees it as an internal affair, and it says basically don't mess in our internal affairs. The EU says that this case is politicized and that Navalny is being persecuted over his criticism of Vladimir Putin and the Kremlin and the Russian government in general, and there was a strong call for sanctions against Russia over the situation with Navalny. And well, basically, there's a very loud choir of people in the EU and being EU diplomats who called for that. But that choir was interrupted by an Irish member of parliament, and she gave her peace of mind, saying that, well, whatever Russia does, there still will be sanctions, and that Navalny is just being used as a pretext by the EU to just slap more sanctions on Russia. Well, don't hear it from me, take it from her.
I'm as happy as anybody else to stand up for anybody's rights, including Navalny's. But let's be honest about him. He's a vicious, anti-immigrant racist on maybe 4% of the support, and we wouldn't be discussing him at all if he'd been arrested anywhere else other than in Russia.
Well, there you have it. And essentially, according to Sergei Lavrov, well, she is somewhat right, because not that he commented on her words, but just his message. It kind of echoes this idea that whatever Russia does, the EU will be looking for reasons to add add economic pressure over political goals and so on. So again, a message of independence that Russia won't be intimidated into anything from the Russian foreign minister. So that's what it is. It's not a call to sever ties as we see it. It's just he's just saying that we are ready to do that if we are backed into a corner.
Yeah, it's total frustration, sounds of it. All right, well, thank you very much, Igor, for putting that in context for us. Igor Zhdanov there.